Welcome back. This is your man Warrior. This is another patron roster review. This is Joysin from Owen Family Barbecue. What's up, y'all? I've had other patrons from Owen Family Barbecue as well. Now, Joysin is able to hit #1 in both arenas. Obviously, you fall a little bit when you are in the top 20, especially when it's a competitive shard. But I just went in here yesterday to do some analysis and saw #1 in both slots. So you're able to successfully do that. In fact, you said you didn't even need really any help on both arenas, but if I saw something to let you know. I can't see your back lineup on your fleet arena, but you have a great initial lineup for the ships that you have unlocked and available. The only thing I would say, and it makes sense, is that you would have the Phantom 2 as your first backup because you have reinforcements maxed. Of course, I would also suggest the TIE Reaper, Slave 1, and Poe Dameron's X-Wing. Now, the one thing I noticed is Poe Dameron's X-Wing and TIE Reaper don't have the reinforcement bonuses maxed. So those would be my #1 and #2 priorities for your reinforcement bonuses. Take them both to the 25 level and then the 75 level. But I would do Poe Dameron's X-Wing first and then the TIE Reaper. And those would be the 4 backups that I would have with the particular lineup that you have. And you may want to consider also developing Cassian's U-Wing for a long-term thought process, because Cassian's U-Wing is definitely one of the top 5 ships for sure in any fleet. He's just super viable in any lineup with any capital ship. So that's just something you might want to consider as a side project. But all in all, both arenas look really good. Crew members for your ships look good. You're using Jedi. This is crazy. It looks amazing. You're able to carve up to the #1 slot. But your #1 thing you said is that you're in Sith Raid. You're doing like, phase 4, phase 5. Now you guys are thinking about going into, obviously do 6, level 6, and then go into Heroic for the Sith Raid, and you're placing top in the Sith Raid, and you wanted to make sure that you just had the highest damage dealing teams in the Sith Raid that you could possibly have. And so we're going to talk about 6 teams that you basically have or need to develop, but most of them you already have, that you can utilize, that you're probably already utilizing, what phase you're going to utilize them in, and out of those you can determine which characters that you really need to hyper focus on. Team #1 is none other than Night Sisters, and you're already good to go. But the team that you would want to focus on, this is for the beginning of Phase 4, is going to be an Asajj Lead, Mother Talzin, Talia Old Daka, and Night Sister Zombie. With those 5, you should be able to pull in millions of damage in the beginning of Phase 4. So there's your Phase 4 damage. Number 3, for Phase 3, you're going to probably use what you've been using, which is the Chex Mix team. And for Phase 3, your Chex Mix team is going to include your Commander Luke Skywalker, Han Solo. By the way, a lot of people probably wondering, you're a hyper-focused Dolphin that played a little over a year and a half. And so hyper-focused Dolphins, it's amazing how much you can do. Normally it's about 1 million GP per year, and so you're at about almost 2.5 years development in about 1.5 years. So that's where that year development speed up progress takes place, is by being a Dolphin and spending consistently monthly over 1.5 years, you sped up your development. So, but with the Chex Mix team, and I'm sure you're aware of it, Commander Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Chirrut Imwe, and you have, of course, your POW to 7 stars, just enough to get the offense up to get the damage that you're looking for. And of course, you need Death Trooper. And of course, your Death Trooper's gear 12. So you're ready to go with your Night Sisters in Phase 4. You're ready to go with Chex Mix in Phase 3. While we're in Phase 3, there's another team aside from Chex Mix that you can use, and that's actually the team we're looking at right now, Imperial Troopers. And that is going to be, of course, General Veers, Shore Trooper, Colonel Stark, Snow Trooper, and Range Trooper. Now, the characters that you have, Death Trooper goes into Chex Mix, which leaves you with your top 4 outside of Death Trooper, and then you need to develop a 5th. Magma Trooper you can use in the interim right now as just a 5th character, but you're going to want to focus on Range Trooper. Now, he's not farmable yet, but he will be farmable in about 4 weeks. There's a really good chance he's going to go on a lower node or Cantina, and should be a relatively easy farm. We'll see. It remains to be seen yet. It hasn't been disclosed, but in about a month. But you need to level it up and gear him up so that way he's ready. So when it becomes time to farm him, you can just focus on farming up his stars and then use him in this team. He is a phenomenal character, so you can use Imperial Troopers in Phase 3. So we've talked about Phase 4 Night Sisters. Of course, after your Night Sisters, you can throw the kitchen sink at whatever teams you have left. You can throw at Phase 4. We've talked about Phase 3, Chex Mix, and Imperial Troopers. And of course, Range Troopers, the one that sticks out as the character you should have in favorites and start to develop. Let's move to Phase 2. All right, now in Phase 2, there's actually a lot of teams. Most teams, basically any team, can do really well in Phase 2. Phase 2 is one of the easiest phases to get a lot of damage, but I would highly recommend Bounty Hunters. And in Phase 2, Bounty Hunters can get millions of damage, so really great team. And this is the least developed team of all the teams I'm going to suggest. So other than Range Trooper, this is your focus. That's right, Bounty Hunters are going to be your focus. In my opinion, if this was my account, looking at everything you have developed, I would put everything pretty much on hold and put Bounty Hunters as the #1 highest priority for me. Now, they're going to work phenomenal in territory wars, territory battles. They're actually required, and they're going to do really, really well in the Phase 2 of the Sith raid. Now, you're going to want Bosk as the leader, Boba Fett. You can use Greedo, Dengar, Zam, IG-88. They all have a purpose, they all have a use, but you definitely want to focus on Bounty Hunters. If it was me and your account, would probably focus on the top row minus Cad Bane, and I would just continue to develop them to the 7 stars and then gear them up. Dengar's long-term going to be phenomenal. Bosk, same thing. Greedo, same thing. IG-88 and Boba Fett, same thing. Now, Zam has a purpose and is really good in this team, but if you're going to skip somebody, that would probably be the one that I would skip. Embo, it just came out, so it doesn't make sense to focus on him quite yet, but the top row minus Cad Bane makes a lot of sense, and Bounty Hunters are going to help you in every area of the game. So this is the next faction I would have you chew on. All right, now moving into Phase 1, there's a couple of teams in Phase 1, and in Phase 1, you could very easily use Jedi. That's right, you can use Grandmaster Yoda lead with Jedi and get millions in Phase 1, especially or even in Heroic, and so I would highly recommend that. You've really developed out your Jedi. And another team for Phase 1 is, of course, Resistance. Now, for Resistance teams, you're going to have to play with the characters you have to decide what is best, but Jedi Training Rey, R2, BB-8, Rey Scavenger, and then your 5th slot is either going to be Holdo or Resistance Trooper. Holdo will provide a little bit of foresight and healing, and, you know, days and things like that. So Holdo's good, but Resistance Trooper brings a ton of damage. So it's kind of mix. You may not survive as long, but get more damage, whereas Holdo, you might survive a little longer, but get a little less damage. It could work out being about the same amount of damage. You'll have to play it to see with your play style which of that team comp actually gets you or, you know, garners you more damage. But you've got Resistance team for Phase 1, Jedi team for Phase 1. For Phase 2, you've got Bounty Hunters that you need to work on, and of course you've got the rest of teams that will do really well there. For Phase 3, Chex Mix, Imperial Troopers, focus on Range Trooper, and for Phase 4, Night Sisters, and then any other team that you have you can throw towards the end of the Heroic Sith raid. You've got all of these teams developed except for obviously Range Trooper and Bounty Hunters, and Range Trooper and Bounty Hunters should be in your favorites and your #1 top priority. The only other thing is, since you are a Dolphin and you do spend a little bit of money on crystals, and I'm guessing you already do this, is buying the crystals, the shipment packs of Bastila. Bastila should be your #1 priority with your crystals if you're using crystals to purchase anything out of the store, because getting the stars on Bastila makes her very, very durable. She's already a phenomenal player at 3 stars, but when you get her up to 7 stars, she is really annoying. So definitely for your viability defensively, you're going to want to focus your crystals on that. But Joysin, you're doing really, really well. First in both arenas. You got every team I would suggest for the Heroic Sith raid, and multiple teams. You've got 5 of the 6 teams ready to go. The only thing I would suggest that you haven't done is Range Trooper and the Bounty Hunters. That's it. And Bounty Hunters are an in-game, but you are in the in-game. So I would highly recommend that for territory wars, battles, and of course for the Heroic Sith raid. If you have any questions, hit me up on Discord privately. Everybody else, leave your comments down below and keep your gaming on. Warrior out.